going to Friendsmas tomorrow, and I decided to bring a cake. But not just any cake, it's going to be a tiramisu, and not just any tiramisu, it's going to be a HOJICHA tiramisu. This was supposed to be a very easy, very mess-free recipe, but as you saw a couple clips earlier, the store was all out of ladyfingers. So as the eldest daughter with severe how hard could it be syndrome, I decided to make my own ladyfingers. And this actually worked out pretty well because I was able to add in HOJICHA to like mix into the actual cookies. I think HOJICHA's flavor profile is a lot more delicate than that of like espresso, so baking it into the cookies was an easy way to enhance the tea flavor. I beat the egg yolks and the egg whites separately and then folded them together and then sifted in my flour, my cornstarch, or actually I used potato starch because we don't have cornstarch in this household. I also added in the HOJICHA powder and then repeated just sifting and folding, sifting and folding. We also don't have any piping bags in this household, which I don't think most households do, unless there's like a family member that just like bakes a lot. I made a makeshift piping bag with a Ziploc that I cut the corner of and then piped these little logs. Girl, honestly, they kind of look like turds. Don't be mean to them. It's the color of HOJICHA. It's the color of tea. It was at this point that I realized I forgot to include the vanilla extract, so the first batch was done, so I did a little taste test after it cooled down a little bit. It was pretty good, but the HOJICHA flavor was mostly baked away. The rest of the cookies also came out of the oven, and then I had an army of these lady fingers. I don't know what happened to this specific batch, but it came out looking more like man thumbs. While the cookies cooled, I worked on the cream. I decided to mix some kinako into the cream. Kinako is roasted soybean powder. It has an earthy, toasty, nutty flavor, and it's super delicious. I also got hungry here, so I took a quick snack break. I got the heavy cream, the bowl, and my mixers out of the fridge and got started on making the whipped cream. I was a little nervous for this part because I basically guessed how much like sugar and kinako to use, but it came out looking pretty okay, so I'm happy with that. I had this mascarpone cheese sitting out so it can come back to room temperature, and then I lightly whipped it, and then I folded my whipped cream and the cheese together. I was a little worried that the kinako would lose its flavor with the mascarpone cheese, but I was pleasantly surprised because it held its ground surprisingly well. I made a very concentrated HOJICHA, probably using like a tablespoon of the powder and like a cup of hot water, question mark. I gave it a light whisk, and then I was ready to assemble the tiramisu. I'm driving this all the way down to Cerritos from Vegas tomorrow, so I decided to use an aluminum pan rather than like a glass one, just for easier disposal. I used chopsticks to dip the lady fingers into the HOJICHA mix. It was just so much easier and cleaner. I layered on the cream mixture as neatly as I could and then powdered this with more kinako powder to really enhance that nutty flavor. I did another layer of the lady fingers dipped in HOJICHA and then another layer of the cream. I kind of went into this blind and didn't really know how many lady fingers I would need. I ended up with a lot of extra ones, so I just like squeezed in as much as I could. I smoothed out this top cream layer and then topped it with a mix of kinako and HOJICHA powder. I also got this chocolate bar so I can make chocolate curls, but I did not know how much time this would take. I'm sure there's like an easier, faster way to do this, but this was the only way I knew how, and so I just decided to go with that. I peeled away at this chocolate bar until I was satisfied, and then that was it. Like, this is the cake. I covered it with some aluminum foil and put it in the fridge so it can sit overnight. With the leftover cream and cookies, I was able to make like 1.5 mini tiramisus.